From the headquarters of Telesur English in Quito, Ecuador, this is From the South. I am Kijan Haynes. Welcome to the show. 86 Venezuelan citizens have landed at the Simon Bolivar International Airport in Caracas after leaving Argentina. This is the latest group to return home after they say they experienced xenophobia and exploitation abroad. The Return to the Homeland program, introduced by President Nicolas Maduro, has 3 phases. The first is registration, the second is coordination to bring them back, and the third is reintegration. Our correspondent, Luis Tavera, was at the airport and as they arrived.
Like carrying 86 migrants back from Argentina on its way to Caracas. At the Simón Bolívar Airport in Caracas, friends and family eagerly awaited their arrival.
I'm waiting for my son. He left with great expectations, but this experience was not at all what he was expecting. He was being exploited over there. They overwork people and pay them very little. He's a young boy. He did not deserve to be treated that way. I have noticed that Venezuelans are looked at with anger abroad. I don't know why. Maybe because we are smart, because of our personalities. I'm just glad he's back.
Finally back in Venezuela, they tell us why they returned.
There's a lot of discrimination and xenophobia. I even saw signs that said they did not welcome Venezuelans, Peruvians, Colombians. I was not expecting this treatment from the people in Argentina. I thought we'd be welcome.
The economic and social reality of other countries ended their plans abruptly. The truth about life there is hidden by the mainstream media to worsen Venezuela's image.
The problem with Argentina is that it's going through an economic crisis. Finding work is hard for Argentinians, so it was much worse for us.
The concern shown by foreign governments for Venezuelan migrants ends once these people enter the territory. Once there, they are faced with poor economic conditions that are worsened by the spread of xenophobia.
Inflation is high and you are not given opportunities even when you're a professional. My daughter is very capable. She knows how to do many things, but she was never given a chance. So we decided to come back because at least here we will move forward.
These migrants return to start a new stage in their lives. They say they are ready to work and help their country. They are grateful for the Return to the Homeland plan, through which the government continues to set up more flights for migrants in foreign lands.
Venezuelan Foreign Minister Jorge Arias called on his Colombian counterpart to start talks regarding migration. Arias said that the Colombian Foreign Minister Carlos Oms Trujillo has so far been difficult to work with. In a tweet, he urged Trujillo to openly discuss the situation of migrants in Colombia. Arias has addressed the United Nations Council for Human Rights in Geneva. Our correspondent, Eduardo Marin, was there.
Here in Geneva, the Venezuelan Foreign Minister Jorge Arias has held meetings with representatives of different countries, and he spoke to this United Nations meeting and said that Venezuela is not experiencing a humanitarian crisis, but rather an economic crisis caused by the United States and the European Union. He also sought help from allied countries to vote against the new report on fundamental rights and freedoms in Venezuela to be presented at the end of the month.
Thank you, Eduardo. In Guatemala City, families are expected to gather to denounce the excessive police force used during Wednesday's protest. Indigenous communities took to the streets to protest the expulsion of the International Commission Against Impunity. They are saying this decision by President Jimmy Morales only protects pro-government forces and congressmen from the ruling party. 60 social movements joined the protest. Yet more than 2,000 police and army officers locked down the city center. The state also deployed a section of elite soldiers in the army specialized in anti-terrorist operations. Our correspondent in Guatemala City, Mario Rosales, was at Wednesday's protest.
I'm standing outside the National Palace, where demonstrators have gathered to demand the resignation of President Jimmy Morales. This protest is made up of various campesino, feminist, and artist organizations. They also demand that, along with the president, all lower house representatives and members of the president's cabinet tender resignations as well. This comes as a result of Jimmy Morales' decision to the rule of the International Commission Against Impunity and banning the entrance of the head of the commission, Ivan Velázquez, to the country. Guatemalans remain expectant over what the Constitutional Court's ruling will be on this case, whether they will demand that President Morales reverse his decision or they will approve it.
Mario Rosales. Police in Costa Rica cracked down on protesters on the third day of the general strike. Police broke into the National University, arresting students taking part in the strike. A number of students were beaten. Citizens took to Twitter to denounce police violence against young people that they say were simply protesting peacefully. Now, universities in Costa Rica enjoy autonomy. The rector also condemned the police incursion. He said that they had caused damage to part of the facility. Hours before, almost 300,000 people rallied outside Congress. The strike is in opposition to a tax plan that unions say jeopardizes the welfare of poor Costa Ricans. They want the government to negotiate changes to that plan, but the president has refused to talk until the strike is called off.
We are seeing close to 300,000 people. We are telling the Legislative Assembly and to Carlos Alvarado to look for an alternative solution. That's what the union has proposed. But the problem is that the government does not want to listen to us.
We have more from Fernando Francia in San Jose.
A massive march was held in the morning, ending at the Legislative Assembly, where they are debating the tax reform, which what the Republic Sectors Union are protesting against. After night fell, the police forced their way in the University of Costa Rica, violating the university autonomy. This has been classified as a very serious act, even by the President of the Republic. For that reason, there will have to be an investigation into what happened. Several students were injured and arrested, and even journalists who were at the university covering the events were violently beaten. This has totally overdone this strike itself because of the brutal police repression and a small group of student protesters.
Fernando Francia there from San Jose. Thousands blocked the main avenues of Buenos Aires, Argentina on Wednesday as anger continues over President Macri's austerity measures. Labor unions and social groups are angry about budget cuts to public services, which severely affect low-income Argentines. Inflation has risen to 31% and it's still climbing. People have to pay more for transportation and electricity, as public utility subsidies have also been slashed.
It's an uncertainty to know day in, day out how you are going to get by, because it's getting worse. Every day you find yourself with worse things. Then you ask yourself, how can I feed my children today? What can I feed them tomorrow? If it continues like this, the truth is we are worse off every day.
Members of State Workers Union ATE were among those taking part in that 24-hour strike.
Their slogan, so that every worker keeps their job, no to state firings, and yes to the rehiring all those sacked. With a big turnout, the general strike was felt in all of Argentina's provinces.
Since the last night, there are mobilizations and vigils. They are not going to be able to cover this up. The government wants to take our jobs. The consequence, thousands of people in the streets. If Macri doesn't stop, the workers will make him stop.
Social movements, trade unions, party leaders and members of Congress all joined the protest. They also demanded the setting up of parity commissions to negotiate.
This destruction of the state responds to a clear class consciousness of those that govern us, but they will not achieve it. We will keep fighting, and we will keep on fighting for the cuts not to be approved. That would be hell for our people.
After the dissolution of 11 ministries, the state workers promised to mobilize against Macri's administration. At the main rally, union leaders announced new actions.
We ratified the strike for the 24th in the Plaza de Mayo. Now I call all trade unions to join the strike on the 25th. And when the budget is discussed, a huge mobilization will take place in front of the Congress to reject what they're trying to sign, which will only bring hunger and inequality.
Faced with a brutal offensive by the governing alliance, which is attacking the most vulnerable sectors of Argentine society, the union leaders say unity in action remains the most powerful weapon the working class has to fight Macri's measures.
Let's take a short break now. More news from around the region after this.
Pakistani journalist Tariq Ali examines the mass media influence promoted by imperialism. Get access to the analysis of the socio-economic and political life of the whole South America on our screen and platform in English. A critical place committed to the truth to determine the major events that transform the world today. Mondays, only on Telesur.
Welcome back. Hurricane Florence weakened to a Category 2 storm overnight. It's expected to maintain that strength when it makes landfall. With maximum sustained winds of 177 kilometers per hour, it's still a powerhouse that will batter the Carolinas coast. Meteorologists believe that the hurricane will stall and meander near the coast from Thursday night until Saturday. That could mean torrential rain, high winds, coastal erosion, and storm surges for days.
This monster of a storm is not one to ride out. When you're looking at a storm surge of this magnitude, where the National Weather Service has said that the damage is going to be unbelievable and that they cannot emphasize it enough, we know that that's a message that we should listen to.
Meanwhile, Tropical Storm Isaac also continues to weaken. Winds are down to 72 kilometers per hour, bringing with it thunderstorms around its center. But it's not an all clear, though there could still be a tropical storm force gusts and flooding possible for the central Lesser Antilles. Still not taking any chances after last year's Hurricane Maria, an island-wide state of emergency is in effect in Dominica until noon on Friday. A curfew will be in effect for the duration.
You don't necessarily take the decision to declare a state of emergency or curfew because you think that there may be some security risk to the country per se. Sometimes these are taken to ensure that there is a greater level of control of the space to allow the essential services to carry the duties, and fundamentally to protect people from themselves.
Puerto Rico is not expected to take a direct hit from Tropical Storm Isaac. However, San Juan Mayor Carmen Yulín Cruz said that the territory is in a weakened state and is not fully prepared.
Are we ready? Look, nobody's ready for a Hurricane 5 or a Hurricane 4. And we are weakened right now, and we're much in control than we were last year. But certainly when you have 3,000 tarps or roofs, these people are now not going to be able to withstand even a Hurricane Category 1 in their homes. So there's a lot more that needs to be done in terms of shelters and so forth. Are we completely ready? No. We would be lying if we said we are ready, and neither is the central government completely ready.
The mayor has criticized President Donald Trump for remarks he made about last year's hurricane. Trump had said that his administration's response to Hurricane Maria was a, quote, unsung success. Mayor Cruz told Reuters that Trump does not get it, and unfortunately people died because of that. An estimated 3,000 people died in Puerto Rico as a result of the storm, which knocked out power to all 3.4 million residents.
The world has seen, and the majority of the American people have seen, how neglectful he was towards the people of Puerto Rico. If he calls a success or an unsung success 3,000 people dying on his watch, definitely he doesn't know what success is.
Colombian guerrillas of the National Liberation Army, or ELN, have released 6 more captives. Those freed include a policeman, a soldier, and 2 civilian contractors. This comes a week after the ELN freed 3 other soldiers. The leftist group had said that they were holding the men to put pressure on the government to restart peace talks. The government of right-wing President Ivan Duque has said that the group must free all of its 19 captives before it will resume dialogue.
I am delighted that there are people who are returning home today after suffering the tragedy of kidnapping. And I say before the court of public opinion, if there is a genuine will for peace, the government will be there, but a genuine will for peace begins with the release of those abducted who are still deprived of their freedom. This group must tell us precisely what is the condition of these people and when they will return to their homes.
Duque also claims that he will honor the peace agreement signed with the FARC, but he will not tolerate anyone trying to take advantage of the situation.
In relation to the agreements seen at the Colón Theater and their implementation, I have said that we will honor to our commitment so that those who have entered into a process of demobilization, disarmament and reintegration can do successfully, beginning a life of respect and peace. But
the National Liberation Army also commented on the releases.
We are the small, underestimated problem which has grown and proven itself to be alive and standing, and with some real changes, eager for a different and better society. Our action is part of a campaign to make visible and denounce the persecution and suffering that the Colombian state and its military and paramilitary forces are inflicting on lower and...
An El Salvadorian court has sentenced former President Antonio Saca to 10 years in prison for embezzlement and money laundering. The former president allegedly misused more than $300 million of public funds during his presidency between 2004 and 2009. In addition to going to prison, he will also have to give back $260 million to the state. 6 former officers of Saca's government were also jailed for their roles in the corruption. Residents of a poor neighborhood in the capital of Paraguay are being threatened with eviction. The residents of Bañados have been meeting in a social forum to discuss how to resist.
In Asunción, 100,000 people live in neighborhoods prone to flooding from the river Paraguay. A few years ago, the government began building a coastal road which goes through these communities. Residents are demanding the right to stay put.
The citizens of the Bañado area need to be respected. This construction site is forcing out families. There has been no answer to better the neighborhoods, but what they are trying to do here is see that people drown from all the rain. We demand a quick answer from the authorities.
Some of these communities along the riverbank are built on land owned by the local government. They want the city hall to recognize the years they've lived here and not evict them.
We are 60 families in San Miguel Guerrero and have lived here for years. It's not how they say. In 2005, the protected area was signed over, but we were already living there. I have lived here for 50 years, and they don't care about that.
In the Bañado neighborhood, residents are demanding a voice in the plans that affect them. In the case of the new road, there have been many evictions, but no proposals for new housing.
There should be no more forced displacements, because that's what's been going on. There has not been any housing proposals for this territory. The organization shows that there should be housing in the territory.
These neighborhoods often suffer flooding when the level of the Paraguay River rises. And then there are the new roads. They want the public planning process to be opened up to public participation and to respect the right to remain.
Since 2016, the number of orphan children in Honduras has risen.
It's estimated that for each murdered mother, there are 3 orphan children. Most of them live with a family member who in many cases has no capacity to attend or assist them economically.
So we see that these children are totally abandoned. This leaves grandparents and aunts in charge of them, even though they really can't take care of them. So this creates a whole bunch of problems.
The testimony of these children, who have neither mother nor father, indicate how little by little they get to the streets.
I sleep in the streets like garbage, as well as all the others that have been here with me. We eat out of garbage, whatever the police gives us. We watch cars and do whatever core we can do here in the streets.
The prosecutor's office says the institutions responsible for caring for these children do not have sufficient resources to give them proper protection.
We would have to understand that this is a situation that should generate policies to increase the budgets of the governing institutions. In this case, currently the Direction of Childhood, Adolescence and Family does not have the appropriate budget to give satisfactory response.
The Honduran childhood crisis is alarming. Violence and poverty create other social problems within orphanages.
It is very serious because the access to schooling is low in Honduras. Still, almost half of the children do not go to school. It is serious because almost a fourth of infants is undernourished. This means that out of 100 children under 5 years old, 23 suffer malnutrition.
According to the organisation Quality of Life, in 12 years, over 15,000 minors became orphans because their mothers were murdered.
Let's take another short break now. World News is next.
An occasion to enjoy the cultural diversity that defines our South American essence. Come along to find out the story behind these personalities, traditions, and artistic expressions that unite us as a whole. Real Lives. Saturdays, only on Telesur.
Welcome back. China and Venezuela have reinforced their strategic cooperation during the visit of Vice President Delcy Rodriguez to the country.
China and Venezuela have furthered their commitment on economic development, seeking mutual benefit and the creation of new markets.
This allows the consolidation of ongoing projects in Venezuela and the creation of new projects under the orders of President Maduro. Our cooperation with China will pave the way for the Venezuelan people.
As part of her work agenda, Vice President Rodriguez met with high officials from the Asian giant. She highlighted the work of both countries' national oil companies over the past 20 years. The president of China's National Oil Corporation says cooperation will only grow from here.
Cooperation between our oil industries has been good. We have the honor of saying we have gained many jobs and various economic benefits from it, not to mention friendship between our people.
Rodriguez praised the vision of late President Hugo Chavez of creating links between Beijing and Caracas.
He knew he was paving the way for a strategic relationship between the two nations. This was unprecedented, and President Maduro has continued this legacy. Our nations continue to consolidate our relationship for a better future.
Cooperation is being pushed through various meetings being held during the Vice President's visit. On Wednesday, she is set to meet with her counterpart, as well as the directors of the China's Development Bank.
Public gatherings in Zimbabwe's capital, Harare, have been banned due to a cholera outbreak. The infectious disease has killed 21 people in the city. The health minister says more than 3,000 people have been infected in this latest outbreak. The previous one in 2008 claimed 4,000 lives. People in Ghana have been paying their respects to the former UN Secretary General Kofi Annan. You're looking at live pictures of his state funeral here. Among his wife is Nani. The ceremony is taking place at the International Conference Center in Accra. After the ceremony, members of the public have been sharing their fond memories of Kofi Annan. Pictures there. We've come to the end of this news brief. For these and many other stories, go to our website, telesurtv.net/English. Join us on social media as well, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. For Telesur English, I'm Keishan Haynes. Thank you for watching.
Enjoy our programming from Monday to Friday, where you'll